Okay, so I've got Ross Everett on in the ongoing interviews with entrepreneurs. And Ross Everett, how's it going?
Fantastic. How you
So,
doing?
so Ross, you have a book that you gave me, "Stop Stopping the Unstoppable," and then you gave me a hat, "Don't fail forward, fuck up." And what's your hat say?
My hat is understated billionaire.
Understated billionaire. And wait, your book says the number the technically it has a picture of you, but it says the author is Dale Thorhammer, the number one New York Times Post, number one New York Post bestselling billionaire, Dale Thorhammer, with a theoretical forward by Kanye West. You're a motivational speaker, a comedian. What's your business?
My business is this show, is this whole idea of transformational comedy, which, like, to be
I like that
perfectly
word,
frank,
transformational comedy.
it was labeled on me. Like, I was at a Tony Robbins seminar and everyone's like, "What do you do?" And my friend was messing with me. He's like, "Oh, Ross is a transformational comedian." And they're like, "Oh, wow." And their eyes got big. And I know enough that, like, when people's eyes get big, there's something there. So I was like, okay.
Their parent, one of their ancestors was an owl.
It was an out you mostly it's either an anamorph situation or that they're intrigued by something.
Right.
So I kinda had to figure out what this was, and was there a need for it, and was it something that I wanted to do? And I've always been like a comedian. I did stand up, I've done YouTube videos for the past decade, and
How's your YouTube channel doing?
oh, fantastic. No, I think, well, I have my own gripes with YouTube and the whole idea of that being a a, a profession, because it was very stressful when I was doing it. But I've had a couple viral videos that got like 24 million views, front page of
Wow.
Reddit.
Oh
Yeah,
my god.
I used to do like you've seen those porn casting couch videos, I'm sure. I did a parody of those where I would take real porn stars and I'd sit down with them and I'd audition them. I'm using air quotes on a podcast, but I would audition them, but the questions that I would ask were so irreverent to what they were actually there to do. And
Like, what question would you ask?
I would say, like, "Do you use toys when you're alone?"
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "Oh, yeah, all the time." And I'd be like, "Great, I have a box of toys. Could you open those and show me how you'd use them?" And it was like a Slinky, a Bop It, My Little Pony.
Uh,
And then I'd ask them to, like, role play with me, but I'd have them be Batman and just say, like, "Where's Rachel?" Over and over again until they got it right.
Wait, it reminds me, gosh, I forgot what book I read. Oh, it was one of Doug Stanhope's memoirs. He invited, so there was, in the yellow pages, there was an ad for exotic dancers, which was a euphemism for like an escort service. But he ordered these exotic dancers. He and his friend ordered two exotic dancers to come to their hotel room, and they show up and they're clearly escorts, prostitutes, whatever. But he said, "Oh, I'm really into exotic dancing. Can you just exotic dance for me?" And they're like, "Well," they would start taking those. "No, no, no, no. Just we really want to see you dance. Like, this is what are you doing? Like, we ordered dancers." And so they kept it going as long as they could.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's, like, one of my favorite things to do. It's like, if you take something at face value when it's not supposed to be, it's like I call it the playful idiot, where, like,
Yeah.
I'm very serious about how stupid I am.
So there is a term for that. It's like a sort of an unreliable narrator. So
Yeah.
you're kind of like everybody expects you to be like, take that casting couch example. Everyone expects you to play a certain role. That's the reliable role they're used to in their heads. And
Yeah.
then somehow you're unreliable. You're not playing that role exactly how they want you to play it.
Yeah, and it's
And that's
weird.
the humor is in that.
We have, like, that idea of, like, "Oh, we know what's about to happen." And, like, I saw those videos, and there was a part of me that was like, "This is so dumb." Like, they would have that question of, like, "Do you know what's about to happen next?" And the girls would be like, I don't know." And, so I thought it'd be really funny if I asked that question, but then had something totally bizarre happen. Like, so I had a clown come in with a confetti cannon and explode it behind them while they were, like, bent over the desk, like, wondering what's gonna happen next. And then I was like, "Did you expect that to happen?"
Wait, were they in on it or no?
So they knew they weren't going to have to get naked. They
Uh-huh.
knew that I wasn't actually a casting producer, but they had no idea what I was going to do in that room. And I had filmed a little video with when I had this show for Discovery Digital Networks where I interviewed people to be Waka Flocka Flame's blunt roller, but I took the interviews very seriously. And I was like, "Will you show me how you would roll?" And I like gave them a piece of paper and they were like trying to roll it up and I was like critiquing it. And that got like a couple 100,000 views. So I showed that to the porn stars and they're like, "Okay, like I get what you're doing. I'm in." So I got big porn stars like Joanna Angel came on, Caden Cross came on, Summer Day came on, and they just like the concept because they're so sexualized all the time. I mean, like that's their industry. That to get the opportunity to play and do something that's like pretty fun and lighthearted and be seen in a different way, I think was really exciting to them.
Do you think the challenge as a director of something like that, like this film that you were doing, do you think the challenge is that they might overact because they don't have to do their usual thing, they're being treated, like, seriously, so they might overact it?
It's why I didn't tell them what I was going to do because
Okay.
I didn't want them to have to feign any sort of surprise. Like the stuff that I did was so ridiculous that even though they knew I was in a character, uh, they were still just like blown away by what was going on. So all of their laughter was genuine. All of their confusion was genuine. Um, and like I think that came through. Like people are very confused to this day as to whether or not it was real or fake.
So the interesting lesson here is, because I wanna extract lessons from each part. We haven't even gotten to your business and transformational comedy yet and your book and so on, but a lot of people think about what makes a YouTube video viral. And I think the sort of genre of what you're doing here is take something that's a standard type of video that people have seen and maybe switch one element of it to create something so that it looks still the same as what everyone's seen, but it's completely different. And that creates this shock value that is then shared and it's funny and it goes viral.
It has to pass the smell test. And like, you know, as a consumer of these types of videos, I knew what I would like what I would be like, "Nope, this feels fake." So if it ever would get to that point, I'd know to take it in a different direction. I knew before going into it, like, what would pass my litmus test. And I think a lot of people, like, especially if you're working with a big brand, that, like, every brand wants, like, a viral video. And I've worked for digital marketing agencies and been asked that question, and I would always say, "It doesn't work that way. It's about the authenticity." And if the consumer base smells inauthenticity, they're out. They don't trust you. In this new shift that we're going through as a culture, as a society, authenticity is like the reigning king. And if they
So like in a video, when you're making a video, like I think of like this is several years ago, but like Casey Neistat doing the Just Do It Nike video, and you never really understand if he's fooling around or not. He basically says, "Look, Nike gave me $10,000 to make a video. Instead, I took it and traveled all around the world." So you just see this quick video of him going all around the world, doing all these crazy things on $10,000, and it gets millions of views. The question is that the video he did for the $10,000 for Nike, or did he really just take the $10,000 and fool around?
It
Probably a
could
little
I
bit of
mean,
both.
it's both and, you
Yeah,
know, like he probably was like, "I'm going to take this." And like with a brand like that, like they trusted him to do his thing.
yeah.
And anytime you're working with like a YouTuber or an influencer, you need to trust that they know their audience better than you ever will. So if a lot of times they come and they're like, "I want you to read this." And some YouTubers will do it for the money and their videos like suffer from it. But if you go to like a big enough influencer, they know their audience and they're going to be like, "Well, no, here's what I'm willing to do." And if you're a smart brand and you want to work with an influencer in a way that's going to be effective, you let them do their thing.
And so is this I mean, so this is great. So is this have you thought about doing a digital marketing agency and
Yeah, I have one. It's
uh,
called Social Media Minded, but to be perfectly honest, I'm ready to let it go.
uh,
Like I have some clients and I do their social media marketing and I help them develop their campaigns, but this what I'm up to right now is so much more exciting to me and a heart calling. And like we have a lot of people that are good at something, but it isn't what their passion lies and they kind of feel trapped into this lifestyle, this prison of success that they built for themselves. And I had to take a lot of risks to like leave the comfort zone of financial security in order to pursue the thing that my heart was calling to.
what did you leave? So okay, let's reel it back. So
Yeah.
you were doing stand-up comedy, you're doing YouTube videos. What was the what were you doing for a living?
Well, I was working on the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien.
Oh, just a small little
Just a
thing.
small little thing, working on the
Were you
Tonight
a
Show with
writer or
Conan
were you
O'Brien. I was a
the key
PA.
grip?
I was a PA. I
Uh,
was just a research assistant, and, um, I got to be
when
there
was
f
this?
this is 2009. This was 2009 through the end of the show. I was
Okay.
there for, like, the tenure of the Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien, and I learned a tremendous amount from just watching Conan on what it means to be a heart-centered leader, because that was a crazy time and all of our jobs were in jeopardy. We found out on TMZ that we were losing our jobs.
I
Um
feel like for some reason, Conan is the one late night show talk show host who has had the 30-year career and yet has always been in danger of losing everything
Yeah.
every single
Like,
year.
he made, like, a really weird deal with God, and they're like, "Yeah, no, you're gonna have success, but it's never gonna feel stable."
Right.
You
Like,
know?
even when he first started, like, it was the first big change on late night TV in, I don't know, 20 years since Letterman and Carson and Leno and all these things, and he was the first new guy, and he was sort of an unknown. He was a writer on SNL and I guess The Simpsons before that, and his first deal, I think, was basically they could fire him in 2 months, and they had to renew every month, some
Every, like,
weird thing.
14 weeks or
Yeah,
something. Yeah, it was like, I wasn't there for that, but I read that in, like, the book. What was it? Late
The
Night
Late
Wars
Shift
or something. Yeah, Late Shift, and I was
by Bill
just like,
Carter. I did the website.
yeah.
So
You've done so many
I
websites.
have, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it was really interesting actually reading the Late Night Wars book, because it showed a different only saw one side of it. I saw from my side what went down there, but reading that book, they were, like, in the room. They got the accounts of, like, what was going on behind the scenes that we were just kind of we would have a staff meeting, and we'd get an update, and they'd be like, "We can't tell you certain things." But Conan took care of us. Like, Conan was the entire way through. He taught me what it looks like to be a caring, loving boss and how to be responsible for a staff of, there must have been, like, 130 people.
So what was like you say like a heart-centered leadership. What does it mean? What did explain by example? Like what did he do that really impressed that blew all of you away?
Well, we got 2 weeks of severance, and then Conan out of his own pocket gave us 2 months.
Hmm,
Like, he didn't have to do that.
right.
Um, and he would just kind of keep spirits up. Like, those last 2 weeks of shows, and mind you, this is all the way back in, like, what was it, 2010, 2011, if that, were some of the most fun I've ever had at work, and I got spoiled because that was my first job out of college.
Do you think he resented Jay Leno?
Oh, I have no idea. I mean, like, I don't even wanna speculate around that kinda stuff because I can only share my experience of what was there, but all I know is that regardless of what he was feeling in his own heart and mind, he never let it bleed out into resentment for the people in the office.
That's great.
You know, it was always, like, we just felt safe, and he was like, "Let's just have fun, and let's make the best television that we possibly can."
So you're fast forwarding, you're at a Tony Robbins seminar. So, someone asks you what you do. Your friend says he does transformational comedy as a joke, and yet people seem to resonate with that somehow.
I think it's just like it's two cool buzzwords stuck together, and they go, "Oh, well, you must be getting a lot of ideas from this." And at the time, I wasn't. I was just participating. And it wasn't until years later I went to clown school in France, and everyone there was developing
TJ
these.
Miller went to clown school in
Did you
France.
go to Gaulier?
I don't know. It sounds
We're
familiar. He was
looking.
on the
So
podcast, and I don't remember the
this is
name.
Philippe Gaulier. This is he. I know Gaulier taught Sacha Baron Cohen,
Mm.
and also my friend Zach Zucker, who him and his posse of clowns, and I became really close friends. And they were like, "You have to go to this clown school." And I was like, "There's no way I can." And I'd just done a Tony Robbins seminar that's like, "If you can't, you must." And I was like, "Oh, I have to go now," you
Mm.
know? And there was a part of my heart that always wanted to go. And I saw this life that they were living, and I saw how funny they were. And it was such a different form of comedy. I've been doing stand up, holding this microphone. I'm a straight white guy holding a microphone to my face, saying the same reiteration with my own little twist that every other straight white guy is up there saying. And I was like, this is different. This could be the thing that allows me to be better than I've been,
What
to
made it
be
different?
What made it different? It's a totally different form of comedy. You don't need words necessarily. It's a look in the eye, it's a connection with the audience.
Mm.
It's a vulnerability that not a lot of people get up on stage with. It's a sense of playfulness where if I don't have an act, I don't necessarily need one because I understand what it means to create a community and an audience.
Hmm.
And
Give me an example, like, well, how do you create a community and audience?
through connection, like you step up there and it's like you're making these offerings, and if they like it, you can feel them liking it.
What's an offering?
An offering is a I mean, the best way I can describe it is do you have kids or anything like
Yeah.
that? Yeah. So how old are your kids?
17, 17, 18, 20, 20.
Okay, perfect. So you remember when they were like 6 or 7, right?
Mm.
And they'd come up and be like, "Daddy, I'm a duck." And whatever it was, and it would just make you laugh hysterically. That's an offering.
Huh.
It's just whatever comes into your mind that you're like, "This is a burst. This is an offering of who I am and what I think is gonna be fun for us to do as a group." Right? And then if they don't like it, you throw it aside and be like, "Oh, no, that was stupid. Here it is again." Okay, no, they really don't like it. But then see if it gets a laugh. I tune into the person that gets a laugh and I go, like, watch this to the crowd. I go, ah, and I'm just giving
It's
it to
true.
this one guy. And then all of a sudden, laughter's contagious.
Uh-huh.
Then you start to fill a room. And then we found a thing. It's not a word, it's just an idea. We just made an offering. We found a game together.
Huh.
And and there's just so many different layers to it. I call it like the beautiful idiot because it's like, oh, this guy thinks he has a good idea. Ah, and he keeps playing that same note over and over again until it's like the whole audience just wants to see that. They're like, this is our bit. This is our bit that we've created
So
together.
so we have to actually get to what you do. I'm
I
I'm I'm
know.
afraid I've been segueing. I've been fascinated by all this stuff. I've been segueing to lots of different things, and but I really want to find out, what are you doing? What's your
So
business?
so my
It's
business
my
is
fault.
really it's
Sorry.
okay. I prefer this
Uh,
because it's like my business is me.
uh,
My business is how do I take this method of thinking, this idea of vulnerability, this idea of going after what your heart calling is, what you feel passionate about, that you've had so many stories in your heart, mind, and upbringing around why you can't do it and go for it anyway. I'm fortunate that I have very supportive parents, but I started doing this comedy show, and it was just a personal development clown show because a friend of mine came to a personal development event that I was at, and I was leading a little thing, and he goes, "This is hysterical. This is your show." And I went, "You're right."
what were you doing that he said it was hysterical?
I was standing on a chair and I was getting people to dance while I was wearing a Charmander costume, and everybody was dancing with me
Huh.
as I'm like doing this thing. And he was watching it as an outsider. And from the outside, it looked inherently ridiculous. And he was just dying laughing. And I've always had a bit of resistance around personal development work, personal development
Yeah.
seminars. I go in like, okay, you want to fight? You're going to get one, bucko. What are you trying to get from me? And they're always like, oh no, we're smiling really big because we are happy. But I always felt like they were trying to get something from me. So my resistance was up. And I got the benefit from the personal development seminars, but I said there's got to be a better way to do this. There's got to be a way that's more fun, more enjoyable, less eye rolly, even though the distinctions that they're teaching are so incredible. And the end result is truly transformational. It's really hard to get people through that door sometimes. So I called like personal development seminars, life coaching books, even going to therapy is level one to me. That's where you've identified that there's a change that you need to make in your life, that you want to be happier, that you want something different, and you've taken an action to get there, right?
Going to therapy.
Going to therapy, whatever it is,
Reading a
buying a
book.
book, watching a YouTube video. My show is level zero because it's a comedy show. That's all it is. My book is a comedy book. You don't need to be like, I need a better life. I'm going to pick up this book. You could just maybe want to laugh or enjoy comedy.
So what is it you do? You have the show and you do what?
It's a one-man show. It's an interactive clown experience where it's like you go into that theater, that audience, and then it starts like a personal development seminar would, but the whole thing is a ruse. Like it's just a guys. I play the character Dale Thorhammer, and he comes out, and it's just like going to a theater show. And then I've taken that, and people were like, "Well, where's your book?" Because all these personal development leaders have a book. So I've essentially started and like unintentionally, right? My website mimics that of a personal development guru's website. I have free offering. I have a sales funnel, but it's all every step along the way is kind of satirizing all of those elements of the personal development world that can feel a little icky. right?
And so how's it going? Do you have traffic? Do you do corporate gigs? Like, what's
I've started doing corporate gigs. A CEO came to my show and he goes, "I want to bring you into my office to do a motivational seminar, but I don't want to tell them it's a joke." So I came in as Dale Thorhammer and led a seminar and fully in character from start to finish without them knowing that it was a joke. But they were just like watching this, laughing hysterically, being like, "This guy is so weird." Right? They were like laughing at Dale.
and could someone see, like, clips from this stuff,
If you
or
go to stopstoppingtheunstoppable.com, I have a promo for the show. And then also on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Ross Everett, I have a couple of videos that I made as Dale
I
Thorhammer.
feel though there's that part of the business, but you can also do, like, what you were just describing about clown school and what you learned from clown school. That those are skills that are sort of relevant to business, believe it or not. Like,
And I've started doing workshops as Ross, not as Dale,
yeah,
because
yeah, that's
as
what I
Dale
mean.
would be a
No,
really
no,
heavy
that's what I mean.
handed.
Like,
Yeah.
as Ross, teaching clown skills to, like, C-level executives who aren't gonna go to clown school, but or even salespeople or whatever, managers, to kind of, take those skills that you learned from clown school that could be applied to business.
Yeah, I do an event. It's either called Unlimited Possible. Like I really just started doing 'em. I'm doing it for the 3rd time on June 19th in Los Angeles. Very limited space, just 20 spots available because it's a very intimate
How
setting.
much does each spot, cost?
Right now, 25 bucks. Like super cheap because I'm still litmus testing this.
Mhm,
Like it's in beta, you know?
mhm.
So I bring them in and I guide them through these to me they're games and they should be very fun and they are very
Like,
fun.
what's a sample game?
I will have people. There's this is a fun game. So it's just there's a chair in the center of a stage, and we decide what a person needs to do. We send someone into like the bathroom, right, and cover their ears and their eyes and whatever, so they can't hear what we're doing. And we decide as a group what they need to do, whether it's sit on the chair, stand next to it, make a
Oh, I
pose,
think I've heard of a game
and
like this.
then we call them out, and then through our applause, we're not using our mouth, but they have to listen to our applause. We're applauding every time they get close to what we're supposed to be doing. So it's an exercise about being connected to the crowd, about
Huh.
really listening to the feedback that you're getting. Because as soon as that applause stops, you can't keep going. Once they're not enjoying it anymore, you have to go back to the last thing that you remember them
I want
enjoying.
clown lessons now.
Come.
How wait, I can't go to, are we in, no, we're not in LA June 19th.
No.
When are you in New York?
I
I seriously want clown
We're
lessons.
gonna come. You know what? We'll offline. Let's figure it out. I'll come back and I'll teach a clown class with you.
All right, well, Dale Thorhammer, aka Ross Everett, thank you for coming on the podcast. I'm sorry I segued so much, but it was really fascinating. How long did you do stand up before you moved into comedy, clown school?
2 years doing
Mhm.
stand up mostly, but I mean, like dabbling on and off. Improv is a heavy background of mine as well, and then of course sketch writing and YouTube has
Yeah.
been a big thing.
All right.
But
Well,
yeah,
great. Thanks for the discussion. And I'm serious. I want to take clown lessons. I think I see the use in other areas of my life.
well, I feel like we should make something happen
Yeah,
then.
definitely.
Yeah,
All right. Thanks a lot.
no
Thanks a
problem.
lot, Ross. And I'll look. And the book is Stop Stopping the Unstoppable. And I guess it's stopstoppingtheunstoppable.com.
That's the one. And I have a live show in July 14th in Los Angeles. So if your listeners are out there, we'd love to have you come experience the show in real life. And tickets are available at stopstoppingtheunstoppable.com.
Where's your show?
It's at the Dynasty Typewriter Theater.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Ross.
Thank you.
Thanks.